Om Namaste Sharade Devi Kashmira Puravasini Tvamaham Prarthaye Nityam Vidya Danam Chadehi Me. This is a verse addressed to Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge and the goddess of Sanskrit, in fact. She is addressed as Sharada, a beautiful name. If I had ever had a daughter, I would have named her Sharada. Unfortunately, this has not been my lot. If any one of you is going to have a daughter, please consider this name. It means she who is as beautiful as the full moon in autumn. Sharat is autumn, Sharada is the full moon in autumn, and Sharada is she who is as beautiful as the full moon in autumn. If any one of you have ever actually seen the full moon in autumn, you will agree how amazing it is. I had the fortune some time ago, about 2 years ago, I believe it was, to be in Himachal Pradesh during the Sharat full moon, the full moon in the season of autumn, and it is simply astounding to see it, especially in India. Today, we shall continue with an explanation of the letter I in Sanskrit. We have so far covered A and A. Now, the letter I. And I will request the Prasundari to write the letter I in a nice way so we can show it to all of you. Like all Sanskrit letters, it has a range of meanings, and I will just quickly run through them. It means sukshma, subtle. So if you want to say, it's not perfect, but I hope you can see it. It means subtle, sukshma. So, for example, Shivaniji, if you want to tell your husband to be a little more subtle, you could tell him, please be a little bit more I, right? The letter I also means vidya, knowledge. So if one of you, for example, Himaji, wants to improve her knowledge of Sanskrit, she can say, I want to increase my I of Sanskrit. It's like a code word, you understand? Then it also means Chandra, the moon. If one of you is freshly in love, for example, George, whom I also like to call Kumar, because he is half Indian origin. If he's freshly in love and he wants to tell his beloved sweetheart that her face is like the moon, he can just point to her face and say, I, I, right? And if she knows a little bit of Sanskrit, she will actually understand what he means to say. Then the letter I also means suguhyaka, top secret. Not just guhyaka, suguhyaka, top secret. So in the CIA, they sometimes have very secret documents and they mark them as top secret. But if they knew a little bit of Sanskrit, they would just mark them with the letter I, isn't it? Then it also means Sumitra, a wonderful friend, a good friend. So if, for example, Ketanji has made a good friend in recent times, instead of calling him my good friend, he can just introduce him as my I, right? This is my I. So I can say Milan in the UK is my I. Then the letter I also means Veera, hero. I am sure that Deeptiji will agree Sandeep is her I, right? He is her hero. Or Tripurasundari might agree that I am her I, right? Am I your I?
Of course.
She says, of course. Then I also means Bhru Madhya, the place in between the eyebrows, which is the third eye. This is the place where we apply a tilak, a precious substance, in order to mark that we are seeking wisdom and concentration. So you can simply say, this is my I. Then it also means tushti, satisfaction, contentment, happiness. So if George is full of joy because his girl, beloved lady whom he calls his I, his moon-like face, if they have a wonderful evening together under the I, under the moon, then he will have a lot of I. And she might consider him his I, sorry, her I. If the conversations they had were sufficiently I, subtle. Do you understand how Sanskrit works? This is, of course, just the alphabet here, but it is quite astonishing. So there are many more meanings. I won't give you an example for each, but I just want to tell you the meanings. One is also Dakshanetra, the right eye is called the I. Then the nose, Nasika, is also called the I. Then I also means Shanta, peaceful. So if you are very peaceful by listening to your breath, you have attained the state of I. And then it also means Kanta. Kanta means beloved, lovely. And now if you have paid close attention, the word I means moon, Chandra. The letter I also means Kanta, lovely or beloved. Now please, if it means moon, Chandra, and it also means Kanta, lovely, what does I mean? It means Chandra Kanta, lovely like the moon. And that's the name of Jaimin's father, Chandrakant G. Shukla in Croydon, who, by the way, every Monday gives Sahaja Yoga meditation lessons in order for your heart to become I, peaceful, Shanta. And then I also means Kamini. Kamini is a lady who is full of love, full of love. So if George or Kumara is lucky, if he is the hero of his desired lady, then she might become full of love for him, and she might consider him her hero. Interestingly, also is the region of Nepal. The country Nepal is called I. Interesting, isn't it? So the ancient Sanskrit experts, they had all these code words for different regions and for different body parts and for different states of mind. It is also the designation for the Bharani Nakshatra, which is one of the 27 star conjunctions. I'm sure you have heard of these, Ashwini, Anuradha, etc. Bharani Nakshatra, ladies who are born under this star conjunction are said to have a very pure and modest character. They respect their parents and the elderly, but they are very independent-minded, and they will never like it if someone tells them what to do. So be careful. She'll respect you, but don't try to tell her what to do. Whereas, interestingly, men who are born under this nakshatra are said to be very kind at heart, but not likable. No one likes them. They're sort of really outspoken. They just blurt out whatever comes to their mind, even if it hurts somebody. They're not bothered by it much. They just go and say it anyway. And you see, I know that these are generalizations, and of course there are many other factors that play in, but in my life, I have been quite good at identifying the nakshatras of people, isn't it, Debrasundari? And even Himaji will confirm that she gave someone's nakshatra to me, and based on the person's picture, I said, I don't think that is their nakshatra, and I said a different nakshatra, and then Himaji will confirm that we checked the actual nakshatra, and surprisingly, the Acharya Ji was right. Isn't that strange? Out of 27 possible nakshatras, the Acharya Ji identified the right one just based on a picture. Now, I'm not bragging here, I'm really not. Anyone can do this who has the right education, my dears. Anyone in India who has been trained properly at this can know this, really, all right? Then the letter I also means fire, that which purifies. So now we're going to talk about a very famous mantra. It is almost as famous as the Gayatri mantra we talked about last time. And those of you who missed it, don't you worry, it is all recorded. And on YouTube, you can watch a 1-hour video of the Acharya Ji explaining the Gayatri mantra. All right? The mantra we shall discuss today is called the Maha mṛtyunjaya mantra. The great mantra that conquers death. Wow. Now that is a name for a mantra. The great mantra that overcomes even death. And it goes like this. Om Tryambakam yajamahe Sukgandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mṛtyor mukṣīya amṛtāt. One more time, and then I will go part by part, so those of you who don't know it can learn it. Om Tryambakam yajamahe Sukgandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mṛtyor mukṣīya amṛtāt. Om. If you like, you can add Om at the end. The scriptures say that adding Om at the beginning and the end protects the mantra from negative energies creeping into the sacred formula. But another scripture, one of the agamas, says there's a tiny little secret. If you only place Om at the start, the mantra is actually more powerful. So that is what my Guruji said. Place it at the start, don't bother by putting it at the end. But I leave that to you. It's for you to experiment. Now please repeat after me. Keep yourself muted so that you can learn how to pronounce. Om Tryambakam yajamahe Sukgandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mṛtyor mukṣīya amṛtāt. One more time, and then I'll explain it. Om Tryambakam yajamahe Sukgandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mṛtyor mukṣīya amṛtāt. Om. I will just translate it quickly so that you feel some sense of satisfaction, because I have received a number of complaints that you go on and on and on and on and on, and you never explain it. Somebody told me that after a whole hour, they still didn't know what the mantra meant. So now, dearly beloved, it simply means this. We worship Shiva, who has 3 eyes, who smells really good because of his goodness, who increases well-being. May I be freed from death so that I obtain immortality, liberation, just like a cucumber that is freed from its stalk. Automatically, spontaneously, not plucking the cucumber. The cucumber that is ripe will fall from the stalk. Similarly, may I attain freedom from death, and so that I obtain liberation, freedom in immortality. We worship Shiva, who has 3 eyes, who smells really good because of his goodness, and who increases well-being of the body and the mind. All right? So all those complainers among you, I hope you are happy now. That's the meaning, all right? And now I will go into the nitty-gritty details. And all the complainers, you can go and have coffee or chai at Starbucks, all right? But then don't complain anymore. The first word is Tryambakam. Tryambakam. Tri means three, like in English. Look how close English and Sanskrit are. Tri means three. So you know what I think sometimes? That the British have a sort of lisp. Some ancient Britisher had a very strong lisp. He couldn't say the S or the T properly. That's why the English started saying the, right? All the time. Instead of saying three, they started saying three, right? So I think this was just some old British man, or worse, perhaps it was a man who drank too much, like most British people do. And that's why they pronounced the beautiful Sanskrit word three as three at some point. Because you see, when you have too much alcohol to drink, you start to pronounce things wrongly, isn't it? It's just one of my linguistic theories. Don't take it too seriously. But there must be some reason why English comes up with a th, right? Why? Why? We don't do this in German. In German, the word for three is drei, like the Sanskrit treya, drei. And in Swiss German, it is closer to Sanskrit, tri or drü, right? So Swiss German is closer to Sanskrit. The Swiss German word for mouse is mus. The Sanskrit word for mouse is musha, not mosha or mausha, musha. And the Swiss German is mus. So we, the Swiss, are closest to Sanskrit, not the English. Forget the English. They don't have a clue. They say mouse, right? So I'm just joking here, but I hope you get the point. Tryambakam. Ambaka has two meanings. One is that it means eye. So Tryambakam means the three-eyed, the one who has three eyes. Where are the eyes? The right eye represents the sun, the left eye represents the moon, and then there is the third eye, which represents the Atma, consciousness, pure consciousness, which is like fire. So sometimes it is said that the third eye is the eye of fire, the sun, the moon, and the eye of fire. All right? Shiva has three eyes, but not only Shiva, you also have three eyes. Priyanka ji, who is smiling and laughing, also has three eyes. If you develop your ability to observe with wisdom and concentration, you actually become highly intuitive. And that is the third eye of Shiva, the eye of intuition, really. But Sayanacharya, the ancient commentator, the person who explained this mantra many, many hundreds of years ago, actually says that Ambaka also means the father. Like Amba is the mother, Ambaka is the father. And he says that Tryambaka is the father of the three. And who are those three? Well, the three Vedas, the sacred scriptures that were revealed by Shiva. You understand? The sacred texts which tell us about the true nature of our consciousness, of our own being. Those three texts are called the three. And the father of those three is Tryambakam. It also makes sense, doesn't it, Devika? That's why you nodded. So you can take either of these meanings, the three-eyed or the father of the three Vedas, all right? And then the second word is quite easy, yajamahe. We venerate, we worship, we connect with. Quite a simple meaning. Then we have Sukgandhim, the one who smells really well, really good, a good smell. So I hope, Kamlesh Bhai, that you applied some very nice chandana fragrance this morning, or at least some deodorant, so that you smell really good for Gayatri Ben. Then you are also Sukgandhim. But you know, Sayanacharya says, Shiva smells good because of two things. Because of the wonderful ash with which his body is covered. Shiva covers his body in ash. The ash represents all the worlds and all the negative emotions of people. Once they are burnt in the fire of consciousness, they become like ash. Om Agniriti Bhasma, Vayuriti Bhasma, Jalamiti Bhasma, Vyometi Bhasma, Stalamiti Bhasma. I forgot the 5 elements of nature: fire, earth, water, space, and wind. They are burned in the fire of consciousness, and they all become ash. All our negative emotions, such as greed. I hope that none of you are greedy, except maybe Jamin a little bit, right? He wants to become rich. So all that greed, when it is burnt up in the fire of consciousness, then it is like ashes. And Shiva takes that ash and puts it all over his body. And then that ash exudes a wonderful smell. Those of you who have actually covered your body in ash, I am sure, Kamlesh Bhai, you must have done that, right? It actually exudes a wonderful smell, doesn't it? This incredibly fresh smell. It's an ever fresh smell. And I am sure that Biren Bhai, who has visited Kailasa many times along with Vaishali ji, I am sure he knows that the smell of ash is the very smell of Lord Shiva's mountain Kailash. If only you know how to smell it. But Sayanacharya tells us something wonderful. He says that Shiva's body also smells so well, so good, because of his goodness, because of his kindness, because of his compassion, because of his boundless maitri, his boundless karuna for all beings. Sayanacharya says, Yatha vrikshasya sampushpitasya durat gandho vati evam punyasya karmano durat gandho vati. That like a tree with wonderful flowers, like the Prasundari, you remember Rat Ki Rani, the queen of the night in India, Every evening we used to go for a walk. And every evening, like a robot or like on the clock, the Prasundari would say what? Oh, the smell. Oh, how wonderful the smell. And in my little youthful mind, I used to say, yes, I know, please don't say it again. I know that it smells good. The queen of the night, in our opinion, is the most wonderful smell, in fact, isn't it?
Jasmine is also good.
She says jasmine, champaka is also good. But I rank the queen of the night as number one. We can have a ranking later, if you like. So Sayana says, like a tree with wonderful flowers is smelled from afar. The fragrance is exuded into the distance, not only when you go up and go like with a rose. Like a rose smells nice, but only close up. So when George gives his beloved E, or in fact his ah, right? Because ah is the heart. So when George gives his ah a rose, she has to smell it. And sometimes it doesn't even smell good. But the queen of the night exudes its fragrance into the distance. So Sayanacharya says, in the same way, good actions and a good mind is actually smelled into the distance. It is a fragrance that is exuded. So, Jasuben, when our dear Priyesh, all the way in Korea, in South Korea, not North Korea, don't worry, he's in South Korea, when he does good actions there, and when his mind is full of goodness, you can smell it all the way to Croydon, can't you? And that's why Jasuben once in a while sends me the message that Priyesh is happy, and that she is happy because she's his mother. Pushti Vardhanam, the one who increases well-being. Sayanacharya says it has two meanings, either the well-being of the body, the mind, etc. Or, he says, it can also mean the energy that brings forth the universe. Jagat bijam uru shaktim. So, pushti in that sense then means shakti, energy that brings forth things, and Vardhanam is the one who makes that energy grow. So, in modern scientific terms, almost, we could say it is the energy which at the beginning of the universe makes the Big Bang go bang. Those of you who know some science, 13.7 billion years ago, like our scriptures say quite similarly, there was this tiny little thing called the universe in its singularity state, and then somehow mysteriously it went bang, and here we are. So that energy, that infinite energy, scientists say, infinite energy was right there at the beginning. That infinite energy was grown into this universe. It exploded. And Sayanacharya, 1,000 years ago, says that could be the meaning of Pushti Vardhanam. Isn't it incredible? Sayanacharya didn't know anything about the Big Bang. It's remarkable. He says the energy that explodes, Vardhayati, Jagat bijam uru shakti. Uru means explosive energy. Isn't that remarkable? So if you like, you could even relate this to modern science, really. And my dearly beloved, I actually have a kind of science degree. It's a degree in social sciences. So I did my doctoral studies in social sciences, but one of my favorite professors had a degree both in philosophy and science, actual science, physics. So I spent the better part of 4 years listening to someone who was also a professor of physics. So my dearly beloved, when I talk about science, I really, in some little measure, humbly, I do know something about it, all right? So please, whenever I say science, don't think this is another one of those Hindus who don't have a clue of what they're talking about, and that Ganesha's head was amputated from an elephant and put onto a human. Please, I'm not talking about that kind of science. I'm talking about real science. There is good evidence in our scriptures that our ancient sages knew a lot about science, actually. Really. They really did. That's why Devikaji, who is a psychiatrist, that's why they developed methods like mindfulness to resolve emotional conflict. I mean, they did that thousands of years ago, very, very attentively, and they knew a lot about the universe. They talked in terms of a time scale of 14 billion years. Half of the universe is 8.6 billion times 2. I'm terrible at math. What is 8.6 times 2? 17.2? Yeah, something like that. They say the universe will have an age of 17.6 billion and then it'll be bye-bye. So our universe is currently 13.7 billion years. If the rishis are right, well, then Jamin has another 4 billion years to become rich, right? And then it is an ultimate bye-bye. That's called the pralaya. So now I'm almost finished. I already translated like a cucumber that is released from its stalk. May I attain freedom from death, so I attain liberation or immortality. That's quite clear, isn't it? Now, the story around this mantra is that the sage Markandeya was the son of the rishi Mrikandu and his beautiful wife Marudmati, and they couldn't have a child, so they asked Shiva, Tryambaka, to grant them a child. And the result was that Shiva appeared and he said, well, this is not so easy, my dears. If you can't do it the normal way, if you have to do it the divine way, well, I have two possibilities, Shiva said. Either you will have a child who will have a long life, wonderful life, but he will be quite stupid. So he won't be intelligent. He won't understand anything about consciousness. He won't understand anything about meditation. He won't understand anything about anything meaningful. All he'll do is earn money. I don't know, maybe get married at some point, maybe have some children, maybe get fat and podgy, and then one day he will die with a bald head, right? So I hope those things don't apply to me, right? So because I'm getting quite bald and my belly is always getting larger, so I'm on a diet right now. She put me on a diet. So you see, this was the one option. You can have an ordinary son who will be like that. The other option is you can have a remarkable son who will have the greatest intelligence possible, who will understand what consciousness is, who will know how to meditate, who will be of tremendous benefit for others because he will teach meditation to others. He will teach compassion to others. However, Shiva said to Mrikandu and Marudmati, he will only live, shockingly, for 16 years. And then he will die of a heart attack. So it was so difficult for them. I mean, imagine for a moment, Kamalesh Bhai, that Shiva appeared to you before Chirag's birth and gave you those two options. It's not a nice thing to do of Shiva, right? But Shiva wanted to test Mrikandu and Marudmati. What is actually more important in life? Is it more important that we live the good life? You know, the Kingston life in the UK? Or is it all right if we live the East End life, but with wisdom, with clarity, with compassion, with exploring consciousness, with exploring deep insight, dharma. They wanted to test, Shiva wanted to test them. What is actually their priority? And my dearly beloved, I would suggest that you do the same. Look into your mind. What is actually your priority? Is Priyankaji's priority the next Louis Vuitton bag? Is Pushpaji's priority the next Hermes bag or Chanel perfume? Is Yukaji's priority the next, I don't know, I'm at a loss of words, the next diamond ring that Ayumu has to buy her, or another set of diamond jewelry in two colors, a pink diamond and a yellow one, right? So I'm just joking. Is Milan's priority really to lease an expensive car, which he just told me 1 week ago when they were here? I couldn't hear. I was, what? I heard it in the car. He was discussing with the others, with Himaji, that he wants to lease an expensive car. I thought, what have I been doing for the past 1.5 years? Teaching them meditation. Now he's going to lease an expensive car. Why? So I'm not against expensive cars. Don't misunderstand. Sometimes an expensive car is good and useful, and it gives you a sense of you know, the good life, right? We need to experience the good life, isn't it? And you'll be surprised. I once dined in a 3 Michelin star restaurant in Paris with a vegan menu at the Georges Le Cinq in Paris, the Four Seasons Hotel. I was invited by a meditation student in Paris who actually could afford that. Isn't that nice? So we were driven in front of the Georges Le Cinq, and then the door was opened and I exited the car on a red carpet almost. And then we went into the vegan 3 Michelin star restaurant, and we got our own, it's not vegan, but we got our own vegan menu. And the food was so good. The vegan chocolates were covered with gold, you know, actual gold. And then I had not only 1, but 4, until my meditation student gave me a very strange look that this is not what you really do in one of these restaurants, right? You have 1, not 4, right? So, but I never had chocolate with gold on it. So, and I won't have it ever again. So I thought, you know, let me just go for it. And I can't ask them to pack it for me, can I? So do you see? Sometimes to lead the good life is important, but please, Mrikandu and Marudmati decided for the 16-year life with intelligence, consciousness, meditation, wisdom, and excellence. Markandeya, the son of Mrikandu, grew up, became a great devotee of Shiva. At the age of 14, already had meditation students. Now that's quite remarkable, isn't it? And was already teaching and had a wonderful retinue of students who all were close to achieving liberation. But, oh dear, the age of 16 came closer and closer and closer. And his father, Mrikandu, told him, my dear Markandeya, I need to tell you something. You're going to die next month. Now it's Amar's birthday in 2 days, isn't it? Yeah, 2 days. Imagine I told Amar when he's 14, Amar, you're going to die next month. That's not very nice. So he told him this, and Markandeya, what? And then Mrikandu told him, sort of, you know, with an embarrassment, he told him, you know, I made a deal with Shiva before you were born. I said, I want an intelligent son, but he can die when he's 16. And then Markandeya was quite shocked. That's quite mean to make a deal like that with the god, right? So then Markandeya went to pray in the Shiva temple close by. And as he was praying, a mantra appeared in his mind. Om Tryambakam-Mantra Sukgandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanan mṛtyor mukṣīya amṛtāt. And he prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed, and his consciousness became clearer and clearer and clearer and clearer until he achieved samadhi, the highest state of consciousness. And then he didn't mind whether he's going to die physically or not. Who cares when you have samadhi, right? Who cares? Because you're one with the absolute reality. You're one with absolute consciousness. Who cares if your body's going to drop? I always tell Triprasundari, if my body drops, she should put it in a potato bag and throw it into the next river, right? So if she can carry it, I'm quite heavy, right? So do you see, when you are a good meditator, you don't mind death. So Markandeya, he reached this point where he just didn't mind anymore. He was in the state of samadhi. And then Shiva appeared in front of him and said, oh, all right, I'll give you a whole life. And the Lord of Death, whose name is mṛtyor, came and with his noose tried to capture Markandeya. And Markandeya's, the noose was already around his neck, the story goes. And Markandeya held on to Shiva. He held on to Shiva. And symbolically, this means he rested in supreme consciousness. He rested in samadhi. And then Shiva, it is said, appeared suddenly to the god of death, to mṛtyor. And with his trident, he has a trident with 3 hooks. He gave him a little peek in the bottom, and the god of death ran away as far as he could and as fast as he could. So Markandeya conquered death just through the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. But the mantra also means to attain samadhi, to be totally established in the state of samadhi, where your 3rd eye becomes active, your eye of omniscience, where you don't just see with 2 eyes, but with 3 eyes, and where the 3 eyes become 1 eye. So, my dearly beloved, the mantra has many, 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 many meanings, at least 4 different levels of meanings. The mantra is good for health. It is good for energy. If you feel down, recite this mantra. The mantra is good for concentration. It is good to give you inner clarity. It is good to increase your mental attentiveness when you meditate. And it gives rise to inner strength. All right? If you do it for compassion and benefiting others, that is the meaning.